There's a number in your head right now. The amount that would make everything okay. Maybe it's 10,000. Maybe it's 50. Maybe it's 1 million. But here's what's strange. People who reach that number often feel exactly the same. Still worried, still uncertain, still one unexpected bill away from anxiety. Because the real problem was never the number. It was the system. Imagine having complete clarity about every pound, dollar, or euro you earn. Imagine knowing exactly where it goes, why it matters, and how it serves your future. Imagine sleeping peacefully because money finally makes sense. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you understand the 3 simple rules that govern all financial success. This audiobook will change how you think about money forever. Welcome to a different kind of money conversation. There's a reason traditional financial advice fails most people. It focuses on earning more while ignoring the fundamental problem. We were never taught how to manage what we already have. Schools taught us algebra but not budgeting. They explained Shakespeare but not savings. They prepared us for exams but not for the monthly challenge of making money. The result? Millions of intelligent, hard-working people earning decent incomes whilst living in financial confusion. Not because they're responsible, because they're operating without a framework. Today, that changes. You're about to learn the 3-category system that transforms chaos into clarity. It's used by millionaires and minimum wage earners alike. It works regardless of your income, your country, or your current financial situation. This isn't about becoming rich overnight. This is about becoming intentional immediately. Before we begin, subscribe to Unique Audiobook English for more transformative content. Your journey to financial clarity starts now. Let's talk about something nobody wants to admit. Chapter 1: The Broken Relationship. Why money feels like an enemy. Sarah earns £45,000 annually. She considers herself financially stable, yet every month ends with the same question: where did it all go? James makes £80,000, double Sarah's income. He asks the same question. The problem isn't the amount, it's the relationship. Most people have a broken relationship with money. It's adversarial, stressful, and built on avoidance rather than understanding. Money becomes something that disappears, creates anxiety, and never quite feels sufficient. This relationship wasn't formed intentionally. It developed through years of small habits, inherited beliefs, and societal messages about what money means. Your parents' relationship with money influenced yours. Their stress became your stress. Their patterns became your patterns. Even if you consciously rejected their approach, the emotional foundation remained. Society taught you that money equals success, that spending equals happiness, and that debt is normal. These lessons are profitable for businesses but devastating for individuals. The media bombards you with messages. You deserve this. Everyone has one. Limited time only. Buy now, pay later. Each message is designed to create urgency, bypass rational thinking, and separate you from your money. Without conscious intervention, this broken relationship continues indefinitely. You earn, you spend, you worry, repeat, but relationships can be repaired. The first step is recognition. Your current financial situation is the result of the relationship you have with money. If that relationship is based on avoidance, your finances will be chaotic. If it's based on fear, you'll never feel secure regardless of your balance. If it's based on understanding and respect, everything changes. Money is neutral. It's a tool that amplifies whatever relationship you bring to it. Give it direction, and it builds security. Leave it unmanaged, and it creates stress. Think about your last major purchase. What emotion drove it? Excitement, anxiety, social pressure. The desire to feel better about something else? Most financial decisions are emotional decisions, wearing logical masks. I needed this often means I wanted this and found a justification. Understanding this gap is crucial. Financial maturity begins when you stop reacting emotionally to money and start responding strategically, when you see money as a resource requiring management rather than a source of stress requiring avoidance. This doesn't mean eliminating emotions. Money is deeply emotional for valid reasons. It represents security, freedom, identity, and possibilities. The goal isn't to remove emotion, but to prevent emotion from making decisions unchecked. Here's a simple exercise. Write down 3 financial decisions you made recently. Next to each one, honestly identify the primary emotion involved. Was it joy, fear, inadequacy, excitement, or something else? Pattern recognition reveals your relationship with money, and awareness is the first step toward transformation. The broken relationship can be mended, but first you must acknowledge it exists. Chapter 2: The Simplicity Principle. 3 buckets for everything. Complexity kills consistency. The reason most budgeting systems fail is they're too complicated. 17 categories. Daily tracking. Spreadsheets that require accounting degrees. People start enthusiastically, then abandon everything within weeks. Financial management doesn't require complexity. It requires clarity. Every single pound you earn will eventually land in one of 3 buckets: survival, enjoyment, or future. Survival is your bucket. These are expenses that keep you alive, safe, and functional. Rent or mortgage. Utilities keep your home habitable. Food that nourishes your body. Transport to work. Insurance, protecting against disaster. Basic clothing. Essential healthcare. This bucket should consume roughly 50% of your income, not 40, not 60, 50. If survival costs exceed 50%, you're living beyond your structural means. The foundation is too expensive, leaving insufficient room for everything else. This isn't sustainable long-term. Enjoyment is your bucket. Everything that makes life worth living but isn't essential for survival. Entertainment subscriptions, dining out, hobbies, travel, upgraded technology, fashion beyond basics, gym memberships, social activities. This bucket gets 30%, not whatever's left. Exactly 30. This allocation is generous enough to actually enjoy life whilst controlled enough to prevent self-destruction. 30% means you have permission to spend on pleasure without guilt, provided you stay within boundaries. The future is your savings bucket, money set aside for emergencies, investments, and the person you'll become. Emergency funds, retirement accounts, investment portfolios, education funds, long-term goal. This bucket receives 20% minimum. This isn't aspirational. This is mandatory. 20% savings ensures you're building something whilst maintaining current quality of life. It's the perfect balance between enjoying today and securing tomorrow. The beauty of 3 buckets is its simplicity. You don't need complex tracking. You don't need perfect categorization of every transaction. You need to know whether money went into survival, enjoyment, or future. This system scales infinitely. Whether you earn £20,000 or £200,000, the percentages remain constant. The discipline required doesn't change. Only the amounts do. This means financial success isn't about income level. It's about allocation discipline. Someone earning £30,000 who maintains 50-30-20 will build more wealth than someone earning £100,000 who spends everything. Income creates opportunity. Allocation creates results. Here's what makes this powerful. It acknowledges reality. You need shelter, so 50% covers that. You're human and deserve enjoyment, so 30% permits that. You must prepare for the future, so 20% ensures that. Nothing is eliminated. Everything is balanced. The system doesn't say never spend on wants. It says spend exactly this much on wants. The boundary creates freedom because you know exactly what's allowed. Most financial stress comes from uncertainty. Can I afford this? Becomes an emotional question rather than a mathematical one. With 3 buckets, the answer is always clear. Check the bucket. If funds are available, yes. If not, no. Decision fatigue disappears. Guilt disappears. Guilt disappears. Confusion disappears. What remains is clarity. This chapter's implementation: calculate your monthly after-tax income. Multiply by 0.5, 0.3, and 0.2. Those are your bucket targets. Write them down. Compare them to your current reality. The gap between where you are and where you should be is your work. Chapter 3. Survival costs. The expenses pretending to be essential. Let's talk about your rent. You're paying too much. Almost everyone is. Not because properties are overpriced, though they often are, but because you chose location, size, or amenities based on emotion rather than mathematics. That neighborhood felt right. That flat had character. That building impressed visitors. These are want-based decisions disguised as need-based requirements. A need is shelter that protects you from elements and provides basic safety. Everything beyond that is a want to wear a disguise. The same applies to transportation. You need reliable movement from home to work. You don't need the specific vehicle you're paying for, yet people finance cars worth months of income, calling it essential, whilst bleeding money through payments, insurance, fuel, and depreciation. Utilities follow the same pattern. You need electricity, water, and the internet for work. You don't need the fastest broadband package, the premium TV bundle, or the unlimited mobile plan. But these extras creep into needs categories, inflating survival costs unnecessarily. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people's survival bucket is contaminated with wants. They're not lying intentionally. They've simply normalized luxury and forgotten what actual necessity looks like. Take food spending. A family might spend £800 monthly on groceries and restaurants, considering it necessary, but £300 might be genuine nutrition, whilst £500 is convenience, preference, and social eating. That £500 belongs in the enjoyment bucket, not survival. The exercise isn't about deprivation. It's about honest categorization. When survival costs are contaminated, the entire system collapses. If needs actually consume 60 or 70% of income, there's nothing left for proper enjoyment or future building. You feel poor despite earning adequately because the foundation is broken. Here's how to audit survival costs. List every recurring monthly expense you currently label as a need. Next to each one, write the absolute minimum functional alternative, rent. In 12, minimum £800 in a less central location. Car payment, £350, minimum paid-off vehicle or public transport. Phone contract, £60, minimum £50 with a basic plan. Groceries, £500, minimum £300 with meal planning and home cooking. The difference between what you pay and what you could pay reveals where wants are hiding inside needs. This doesn't mean you must immediately downgrade everything. It means you must acknowledge the truth. That extra £400 in rent isn't a need, it's a want. Budget for it accordingly. Move it to the 30% bucket where it belongs. Once categorization is honest, decisions become clearer. If genuine needs consume only 40% of income, you suddenly have flexibility. You can increase enjoyment spending, boost savings, or both. If honest needs consume 60%, you have a structural problem requiring action. Reducing survival costs creates breathing room. Every 100% removed from inflated needs becomes 100% available for intentional enjoyment or future security. The goal isn't minimalism for its own sake. The goal is accuracy. When survival costs are lean and honest, everything else becomes easier. People often resist this because downsizing feels like failure. It isn't. It's strategic repositioning. Choosing a smaller flat isn't admitting defeat. It's prioritizing financial health over appearance. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They'll live modestly whilst building wealth, then upgrade from a position of strength rather than financing an upgrade from weakness. This chapter's action. Identify your 3 largest need expenses. Research cheaper alternatives. Calculate annual savings from switching. Decide whether current spending truly serves survival or secretly serves comfort. Honesty hurts briefly. Financial stress hurts indefinitely. Choose wisely. Chapter 4. The Pleasure Permission. Enjoying life without destroying it. Here's what most financial advice gets wrong. It treats enjoyment as an afterthought or a guilty indulgence. The message is always the same. Cut everything. Sacrifice now. Enjoy later. Discipline equals deprivation. This approach fails spectacularly because humans aren't robots. We need pleasure, connection, experiences, and comfort. A life of pure deprivation isn't sustainable. It leads to burnout, rebellion, and eventual financial collapse when the dam breaks. The 30% enjoyment bucket isn't a compromise. It's a necessity. This allocation gives you permission, actual permission, to spend on things that bring joy without threatening your future. It acknowledges that quality of life matters whilst maintaining boundaries that prevent self-destruction. Here's how to use the pleasure bucket effectively. First, understand that 30% is substantial. If you earn £3,000 monthly, that's £900 for pure enjoyment. That's restaurants, entertainment, hobbies, fashion, experiences, and spontaneity. That's not deprivation. That's living. Second, recognize that boundaries increase enjoyment. When the wants are unlimited, spending becomes anxious. You're never sure whether a purchase is acceptable. Guilt follows every swipe. But when wants have a clear allocation, spending within that boundary becomes genuinely pleasurable. You're not wondering, should I? You know the bucket has funds, so the answer is yes. Third, prioritize quality over quantity. 30% of income spent intentionally creates more satisfaction than 60% spent impulsively. One excellent meal enjoyed consciously beats 5 mediocre meals consumed distractedly. The pleasure bucket rewards consciousness. When you know you have exactly £900 for enjoyment this month, you start choosing experiences that genuinely matter rather than consuming automatically. Common wants to track: streaming services, takeaway food, coffee shops, clothing beyond basics, alcohol, concerts, sporting events, hobbies, weekend trips, gifts, premium products. None of these are wrong. They're human. The question is whether they stay within their 30% boundary. Here's where most people fail. They don't track their spending. They guess, assume, or ignore. Then wonder why savings never materialize. The antidote is radical awareness. For 1 month, track every single want-based purchase, not to judge yourself, to see reality clearly. Most people discover they're spending 40, 50, even 60% on wants, whilst telling themselves it's less. Awareness creates options. Once you see the truth, you can adjust. But here's the permission part. If you've properly allocated 50% to needs and 20% to savings, that 30% is yours guilt-free. Spend it joyfully. That's the entire point. Financial balance isn't about eliminating pleasure. It's about containing pleasure so it doesn't eliminate security. The psychology of wants is fascinating. Research shows that anticipation often provides more happiness than consumption. Looking forward to a holiday creates weeks of pleasure. The holiday itself creates days. The memory provides ongoing enjoyment. This means delayed purchases aren't just financially wise, they're emotionally strategic. The 24-hour rule, waiting a day before non-essential purchases, doesn't just prevent impulse spending, it extends the pleasure of anticipation. Social spending deserves special attention. We often spend on wants because everyone around us does. Dinner invitations, rounds at pubs, group activities. These aren't inherently bad, but they shouldn't dominate your enjoyment bucket. Learning to suggest free or low-cost alternatives without seeming cheap is a valuable skill. Let's walk the park instead of meeting for coffee. Maintains connection whilst preserving resources. The pleasure bucket should reflect your values, not others' expectations. This chapter's reflection: list your top 5 sources of genuine joy. Now list your top 5 spending categories. If they don't match, your enjoyment spending is misaligned with your actual values. Realign them. Life's too short to spend money on things that don't truly matter to you. Chapter 5. Building the Future. Why saving isn't functional. Meet 2 friends, Michael and David. Both earned identical salaries throughout their careers. Both retired at 65. Michael has £650,000 saved. David has £23,000 and crushing anxiety. What created this massive difference? Michael saved 20% consistently for 40 years. David saved whatever was left, which averaged 3%. Small percentages compound into life-altering differences over time. The 20% savings allocation isn't arbitrary. It's the minimum threshold for long-term financial security in modern economies. Less than 20%, and you're building too slowly. You might reach retirement age without sufficient resources. More than 20% is excellent if you can maintain it, but 20 is the baseline. This bucket serves 3 distinct purposes, each critical. First, emergency protection. Life delivers unexpected punches. Car failures, medical emergencies, job losses, family crises, home repairs. Without liquid savings, these events become catastrophes, requiring debt. The emergency fund goal is 3 to 6 months of expenses. This isn't pessimism, it's realism. When protected by emergency savings, you face difficulties from a position of strength rather than desperation. Second, retirement preparation. State pensions won't be sufficient. Private pensions require early, consistent contributions to build adequately. The power of compound growth means someone saving from age 25 needs to contribute far less than someone starting at 40. Every year delayed requires dramatically higher contributions to reach the same outcome. Third, investment growth. Money saved in basic accounts loses value to inflation. Money invested in diversified portfolios grows exponentially over decades. Stocks, bonds, property funds, index trackers, these vehicles turn saved money into working money. The difference is profound. £100 saved monthly in a basic account becomes £60,000 in 40 years. That same £100 invested with average market returns becomes approximately £280,000. Same effort, dramatically different outcome. This is why savings must be invested, not just stored. Here's the psychological barrier. Saving feels invisible. Unlike purchases that provide immediate gratification, savings sit silently. No dopamine hit, no visible change, no praise from others. This invisibility makes saving emotionally difficult despite being financially essential. The solution is making future benefits visible. Calculate your retirement needs. Visualize the freedom emergency funds provide. Imagine opportunity investment growth creates. Make the invisible tangible. Automation is crucial. If savings depend on leftover money, they'll never happen. Leftover money is a myth. Something always consumes it. Instead, automate savings immediately upon receiving income. The money vanishes into savings before you see it, removing temptation and decision fatigue. Most banks offer automatic standing orders. Set up 3: emergency fund, retirement account, investment account. Total 20% of income. Gone before you can spend it. This forces you to live on 80%, which is entirely possible when needs are 50% and wants are 30%. People often say, "I can't afford to save 20%. Translation: I choose not to reorganize my spending to make 20% savings possible. Harsh, perhaps. True, absolutely. Saving 20% is possible at almost any income level if needs are controlled and wants are contained. It requires trade-offs, certainly, but so does not saving. The trade-off for not saving is perpetual financial anxiety and eventual crisis. Which trade-off do you prefer? Here's the mindset shift. Don't view savings as money leaving your life. View it as money moving from present you to future you. You're not losing it. You're redirecting it toward a version of yourself who will desperately need it. Every pound saved is a gift to your future self. Every pound wasted is theft from them. This chapter's commitment: calculate exactly 20% of your monthly income. Set up automatic transfers totaling that amount. Split between emergency savings, retirement and investments. Do it today, not tomorrow, not next month. Today. Your future self is watching every decision you make. Don't disappoint them. Chapter 6. The Earning More Trap. Why Raises Don't Solve Anything. Emma received a £5,000 annual raise. She was thrilled. Finally, some breathing room. 6 months later, she felt exactly the same financial pressure. Still stressed. Still running out of money. Still anxious about bills. What happened to the fight? It evaporated into lifestyle inflation. A nicer flat, better restaurants, weekend trips, premium gym, upgraded wardrobe. None of it felt excessive at the time. Each expense seemed reasonable given her new income level, but collectively they consumed the entire raise plus some extra. She now earned more whilst feeling exactly the same. This is the earning more trap. People believe income increases solve financial problems. They don't. They merely expand the playground for the same dysfunctional habits. If you can't manage £30,000 wisely, you won't manage £60,000 wisely. You'll just make more expensive mistakes. The pattern is predictable. Income increases. Immediate excitement. Brief sense of financial relief. Gradual lifestyle expansion. New baseline established. Old stress returns at a higher income level. Desire for the next raise begins. Repeat indefinitely. The trap is psychological. We adapt rapidly to improvements. A phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. The nicer flat feels amazing for 2 weeks, then becomes normal. The better car excites you for a month, then becomes invisible. The premium lifestyle feels earned, then feels insufficient. Meanwhile, the costs remain permanent whilst the pleasure fades. Breaking this cycle requires conscious intervention. When income increases, spending must stay constant. The difference gets allocated entirely to savings and investments. This is called lifestyle freezing, and it's how ordinary earners build extraordinary wealth. Imagine earning £40,000 and living comfortably within the 50-30-20 framework. Then you receive a £5,000 raise, bringing you to £45,000. Option A, expand lifestyle. That £5,000 disappears into better living. You feel temporarily pleased, but build nothing lasting. Option B, freeze lifestyle. Continue living on £40,000. The entire £5,000 goes to savings and investments. Over 20 years with compound growth, that decision creates hundreds of thousands in additional wealth. Same income. Dramatically different outcome. The only difference is discipline. Here's what makes lifestyle freezing powerful. It feels like sacrifice initially, but creates freedom eventually. You're delaying gratification, certainly, but the delay isn't perpetual. It's strategic. Freeze lifestyle whilst building wealth. Then upgrade from a position of strength rather than financing upgrades from weakness. The wealthy live this way instinctively. They'll drive modest cars whilst building property portfolios. They'll live in reasonable homes whilst accumulating investment accounts. They prioritize net worth over appearance. Then, when their net worth provides genuine security, they might upgrade. But the upgrade is funded by investment returns, not income. That's the critical difference. Most people do the opposite. They upgrade immediately, using increased income, never building net worth. They look wealthier whilst being broke. Appearance without substance. Social pressure makes lifestyle freezing difficult. Friends and colleagues expect you to enjoy your success. Family members suggest you deserve better. Society measures success by visible consumption. Resisting this pressure requires clarity about your actual goals. Do you want to look successful or be secure? Do you want approval or options? Do you want to impress others or impress yourself with your discipline? Both paths are valid, but you can't have both simultaneously. Choose consciously. Here's a practical strategy. When you receive a raise or bonus, immediately increase your automatic savings by that exact amount. Before lifestyle can expand, redirect the increase toward future you. If you receive a £200 monthly raise, increase savings by £200 monthly. Your take-home spending remains constant. Your wealth building accelerates. This way, lifestyle inflation becomes physically impossible. The money never enters spendable accounts. This chapter's action. Calculate your last income increase. Track honestly where that money went. If it didn't increase savings proportionally, it disappeared into lifestyle inflation. For your next increase, decide now, will it build wealth or inflate lifestyle? The decision you make determines your financial trajectory for decades. Chapter 7. The Debt Quicksand. How borrowing becomes a life sentence that is sold as empowerment. Get what you want today, pay tomorrow. You deserve it now. Low monthly payments. The marketing is seductive. The reality is devastating. Consumer debt is a prison with invisible bars. You can move around, work, live normally, but you're not free. Every pound earned is partially owned by someone else. Every decision is constrained by obligations. Let's be clear, not all debt is equal. Strategic debt can build wealth. A mortgage on appreciating property, a business loan generating profit, student loans increase earning potential. These debts, used wisely, can accelerate financial growth. But consumer debt, credit cards, personal loans, car finance for depreciating vehicles, is financial quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Here's why. Interest. Carrying a £3,000 credit card balance at 18% annual interest costs €540 yearly. That's £530 that could have been saved, invested, or used for genuine enjoyment. Instead, it's pure waste, enriching banks whilst impoverishing you. Over 10 years, that single £3,000 balance costs over £5,000 in interest alone, if only minimum payments are made. You're paying nearly double the original purchase price. For what? Items probably forgotten, discarded, or worthless now. The psychological cost is equally destructive. Debt creates background anxiety that colors every financial decision. You can't pursue opportunities because obligations constrain you. You can't save aggressively because debt payments consume resources. You can't feel secure because one emergency could trigger a spiral. Debt doesn't just cost money, it costs peace. Here's the elimination strategy. First, stop accumulating. No new debt under any circumstances. If you can't afford something within your 50-30-20 framework, you can't afford it. Period. Second, list all debts with balances, interest rates, and minimum payments. Third, choose a method. Avalanche or snowball. Avalanche method. Focus all extra payments on the highest interest debt, whilst maintaining minimums on others. Mathematically optimal. Eliminates expensive debt first, minimizing total interest paid. Snowball method. Focus on the smallest balance, regardless of interest rate. Psychologically powerful, quick wins create motivation to continue. Both work. Choose based on your personality. Need motivation. Snowball. Prefer efficiency. Avalanche. Fourth, weaponize your budget. Every pound that can be redirected toward debt elimination should be. This might mean temporarily reducing wants spending below 30%. Temporary sacrifice for permanent freedom. The goal is intensity. Paying minimums keeps you trapped indefinitely. Attacking debt aggressively creates escape velocity. Here's what changes after becoming debt-free. Suddenly, your income is actually yours. That £400 previously paid to credit cards becomes £400 for saving or intentional spending. Your 50-30-20 framework becomes possible because nothing is siphoned off first. Many people experience profound emotional shifts when debt disappears. The background anxiety fades. Decisions become clearer. Sleep improves. Relationships strengthen because financial stress isn't contaminating everything. Debt-free isn't wealthy, but it's free, and freedom is the foundation for building wealth. Avoiding future debt requires understanding why you accumulated it initially. Was it emergency spending due to inadequate savings? Was it lifestyle inflation beyond your means? Was it keeping up with others? Was it emotional spending addressing non-financial problems? Identify the root cause. Otherwise, you'll eliminate debt only to accumulate more. Build your emergency fund simultaneously with debt elimination if possible. Even £1,000 set aside prevents new debt when unexpected expenses arrive. This chapter's brutal honesty. Calculate total debt. Calculate monthly interest paid. Multiply by 12, then by 5. That's how much debt will cost you over 5 years if behavior doesn't change. Feel the weight of that number. Then decide, is keeping debt worth that cost? Chapter 8. The Automation Revolution, Making Discipline Effortless. Willpower is finite. Motivation fluctuates. Discipline wavers. Systems endure. The greatest financial discovery you'll ever make is this: good intentions fail, good systems succeed. You can't rely on willpower to save consistently. You can't trust motivation to maintain budgets. You can't depend on discipline to resist temptation day after day. But you can build systems that remove the need for all three. Automation is the single most powerful financial tool available. It transforms financial management from an active daily struggle into a passive background process. Here's how to automate your entire financial life. Step 1. Automate savings. The moment income arrives, percentages transfer automatically to designated accounts. 20% to savings, split between emergency fund, retirement and investments. Gone immediately. No decision, no temptation. Step 2. Automate bills. All recurring expenses, rent, utilities, insurance, subscriptions, set to automatic payment. Never late, never forgotten, never requiring thought. Step 3. Automate investments. Monthly contributions to investment accounts. Pound cost averaging ensures you buy consistently regardless of market conditions. No timing required. No decisions about when to invest. Step 4. Automate alerts. Set balance alerts at critical thresholds. If the spending account drops below certain amounts, you're notified immediately. Early warning system preventing overspending. What remains after automation? Your actual spendable money for needs and wants. This amount becomes tangible and visible. You can't accidentally overspend savings because they're already gone. The psychological relief is profound. Financial management transforms from exhausting to effortless. You're not constantly monitoring, deciding, resisting. The system handles it. But automation does more than remove effort. It removes emotion from financial decisions. When you manually transfer savings monthly, you're tempted to skip occasionally, just this month. When savings transfer automatically, there's no opportunity for negotiation. When bills require manual payment, you might delay to preserve cash temporarily. When they auto-pay, no temptation exists. Automation creates what psychologists call commitment devices. You make one decision once. That decision executes indefinitely, regardless of future mood, circumstances, or temptations. This is particularly powerful for savings. Studies show people save dramatically more with automatic transfers than manual ones, despite identical incomes. Here's the setup process. Log into your bank. Create separate accounts. Emergency savings, investment savings, retirement contributions, everyday spending. Set standing orders. On payday, 20% total transfers immediately to savings accounts. Bills auto-pay from spending account. Review quarterly. Automation doesn't mean abandoning oversight. Check quarterly that percentages still align with income changes and goals remain on track. But here's the critical part. Automate temptation removal simultaneously. Delete saved payment methods from shopping sites. Unsubscribe from promotional emails. Remove shopping apps from your phone. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions. Make impulse spending physically difficult whilst making savings physically automatic. The result? Financial discipline becomes your default rather than your struggle. People often resist automation, claiming they want control. But manual management isn't controlled. It's daily combat with yourself. Automation is actual control. You control the system once, then the system controls behavior forever. This chapter's implementation. Spend 2 hours this weekend building your automated system. Set up accounts, configure transfers, schedule payments. 2 hours creates years of effortless discipline. Chapter 9. The Comparison Epidemic. Breaking free from other people's lives. Your neighbor drives a new Mercedes. Your colleague is on holiday in the Maldives. Your friend wears designer labels. Your social media feed showcases seemingly perfect lives, and you feel inadequate. Welcome to the comparison epidemic, the psychological disease that destroys more financial lives than any market crash. Here's what you're comparing. Your complete reality against everyone else's curated highlights. You see their Mercedes, You don't see the 72-month finance agreement at 14% interest. You see their Maldives photos. You don't see the credit card debt funding it. You see designer clothes. You don't see empty savings accounts. Social media weaponized comparison. Everyone broadcasts wins, purchases, experiences. Nobody shares the mounting debt, the sleepless anxiety, or the fragile finances, one emergency away from collapse. Your brain perceives these curated highlights as complete realities. It concludes you're falling behind, missing out, living inadequately. This perception triggers spending to close the perceived gap. The result? You finance a lifestyle you can't afford to match people who also can't afford their lifestyles. Everyone broke together, pretending to be wealthy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most visible wealth is financed consumption, not actual wealth. Real wealth is invisible. It's growing quietly in investment accounts. Its properties generate rental income. Its businesses building value. It's the freedom to choose rather than the obligation to perform. Real wealth whispers. Fake wealth shouts. The truly wealthy often look ordinary. They drive sensible cars, live in comfortable but modest homes, and dress normally. They don't need external validation because they have something more valuable options. Meanwhile, those desperate to appear wealthy finance luxury, lease status symbols, and prioritize perception over reality. Which game are you playing? The antidote to comparison is clarity about your actual values. What genuinely matters to you? Security, freedom, family time, creative pursuits, adventure? Now examine your spending. Does it reflect those values or someone else's? Most people discover massive misalignment. They value security, but spend it for status. They value experiences, but accumulate possessions. They value freedom, but create obligations. Realigning spending with values eliminates comparison's power. You stop caring about others' choices because you're confident in your own. Practical strategies for breaking free. Curate your social media. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison spending. Follow accounts promoting financial wisdom instead. Decline expensive social invitations without guilt. True friends value your company, not your spending. Suggest alternative activities within your budget. Stop discussing purchases with others. Sharing what you bought invites comparison and often escalates group spending norms. Remember, you're on different journeys. Others might be at different life stages, have different priorities, or face different circumstances. Their choices aren't relevant to your path. Celebrate progress privately. Build wealth quietly. Let results speak eventually. The comparison trap is particularly vicious because it's self-reinforcing. Comparison creates inadequacy. Inadequacy triggers spending. Spending creates financial stress. Stress creates vulnerability to more comparison. The cycle continues. Breaking it requires conscious intervention. When you notice comparison thoughts arising, pause, question them. Why do I care? What am I actually feeling? Does this align with my values? Usually, comparison reveals deeper issues. Insecurity about self-worth, uncertainty about life direction, fear of being left behind. These are valid feelings requiring attention, but spending money won't resolve them. This chapter's reflection. Identify 3 purchases made primarily because others had similar things. Calculate their total cost. Imagine that money invested instead. That's the price of comparison. Chapter 10. The Freedom Equation. When balance creates possibilities. Financial freedom isn't about being rich. It's about having choices. Choices about where you live, what work you accept, how you spend time, who you help, what risks you take, when you say no. This level of choice is available to anyone willing to maintain balance consistently. The 50-30-20 framework creates freedom through balance. When needs are controlled, wants are contained, and savings are prioritized, something remarkable emerges. Options. Let's make this concrete. After 1 year maintaining this framework, you have meaningful emergency savings. An unexpected expense appears. Car repair, medical bill, home issue. Instead of panic and debt, you handle it calmly with cash. That's freedom from crisis. After 3 years, an emergency fund is fully established and retirement contributions are built. You receive a job offer requiring relocation. Instead of being trapped by finances, you can choose freely. That's freedom of movement. After 5 years, investment accounts have grown substantially. An opportunity appears. Starting a business, additional education, career change. Instead of watching opportunities pass, you can pursue them. That's freedom of possibility. After 10 years, compound growth has created substantial wealth. Work becomes optional rather than mandatory. You continue working perhaps, but from choice rather than necessity. That's freedom of time. After 20 years, you're financially independent. Your investments generate sufficient income to cover expenses without working. You choose activities based on meaning rather than money. That's complete freedom. This progression happens naturally when balance is maintained, not through dramatic sacrifices, not through perfect investing, simply through consistent allocation discipline. The mathematics are straightforward. 20% saved and invested over decades creates wealth that provides options. But here's what makes this powerful. It works at any income level. Someone earning £25,000 who maintains this framework will build more freedom than someone earning £75,000 who maintains no framework. Financial freedom is primarily about structure, secondarily about income. The freedom equation is simple. Control expenses, maximize savings rate, invest consistently, protect the system. Every element reinforces the others. Controlled expenses create high savings rates. High savings rates accelerate investment growth. Growing investments create security. Security enables further expense control because you're not desperate. It becomes a virtuous cycle, but freedom requires defending against constant threats. Lifestyle inflation attacks when income increases, comparison spending attacks through social pressure, impulse purchases attack through emotional triggers, debt opportunities attack through clever marketing. Each threat must be recognized and rejected, not once, continuously. This isn't exhausting when systems are properly established. Automation handles savings. Budgets contain wants. Awareness prevents lifestyle inflation. Values guide decisions. The heavy lifting happens during setup. Maintenance becomes relatively effortless. Here's the beautiful part. Financial freedom compounds beyond money. Reduced financial stress improves health, relationships, creativity and decision-making. You sleep better. You think clearer. You're more present with loved ones. You take better career risks. You're more generous. Freedom in one area creates freedom in others. The opposite is equally true. Financial constraint compounds into life constraints. Constant money stress contaminates everything. Relationships suffer. Health declines. Opportunities vanish. Life becomes reactive rather than intentional. The choice between these paths isn't dramatic. It's daily. Small decisions repeated consistently. Will you maintain the framework today? Will you resist temptation this week? Will you automate savings this month? Will you freeze your lifestyle this year? Each individual decision seems insignificant. Collectively, they determine your entire financial trajectory. 10 years from now, you'll be somewhere. The only question is whether you'll be somewhere chosen consciously or somewhere arrived at accidentally. This chapter's final action: write down your freedom number, the amount required in savings and investments to feel completely secure. Calculate how long achieving that number takes at 20% savings with compound growth. That's your timeline to freedom. Then ask yourself, is maintaining balance worth achieving freedom? If yes, start today, not tomorrow. Today. We've covered substantial ground together. You now understand why most people struggle financially despite decent incomes. You know the three-bucket system that creates clarity. You've learned how to properly categorize needs, control wants, and prioritize savings. You understand the traps: lifestyle inflation, comparison spending, debt accumulation, and weak systems. More importantly, you know the solutions, but knowledge alone changes nothing. Implementation changes everything. Right now, you're at a decision point. You can close this audiobook, feel momentarily inspired, then continue existing patterns. Most people choose this path. It's comfortable, familiar, safe. Or you can decide that today, this specific day, is when patterns change. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just intentionally. Start with one action. Open your banking app. Review last month's spending. Categorize it honestly into needs, wants, and savings. See your reality clearly. Then take the second action. Calculate your 50-30-20 targets based on income. Compare them to actual spending. Identify the gaps. Then take the third action. Set up one automated transfer. 20% of the next income goes directly to savings, before you see it, before you can spend it. That's how transformation begins. One decision, one action, one system. 3 months from now, review your progress. You'll see accumulated savings, reduced stress, increased clarity. The framework is working. 6 months from now, the system feels natural. Automatic savings are invisible. Budgets are effortless. Choices are clearer. 1 year from now, your financial life is unrecognizable. Emergency fund established. Investments growing. Debt decreasing or eliminated. Freedom emerging. But only if you start. The framework is simple. 50% for survival, 30% for enjoyment, 20% for the future. The execution determines everything. This isn't about perfection. Some months will exceed budgets. Unexpected expenses will appear. Discipline will occasionally waver. That's human. What matters is returning to the framework, not abandoning it during difficulty, but recommitting to it afterward. Financial freedom is built through consistency over time, not intensity in moments. If this audiobook provided value, subscribe to Unique Audiobook English for more transformative content. Share this with someone who needs financial clarity. Your future is shaped by decisions made today. Stop waiting for perfect circumstances. Stop hoping for magical solutions. Stop looking for shortcuts. Start managing the money you have. Start controlling your expenses. Start building your future. The 3 buckets are waiting. Fill them wisely. Balance your needs. Contain your wants. Protect your savings. That's not a restriction, that's liberation. Now go build the life you actually want, not the one you're financing on credit. Go create security. Not just the appearance of success. Go become free. Not just look comfortable. The framework is yours. The choice is yours. The future is yours. Choose wisely.